Testing. Okay. Welcome, everyone. I'm so happy that you're here with us today. I hope this isn't too loud in your ears. And I hope that our online folks can hear us okay. I'm Dr. Ann Rashid. I'm in the Art, Communication, and English department. And I've been the faculty advisor for the Critical Point, this wonderful journal of art and writing for the past almost 14 years, which is really amazing. And I've had some incredible students. I have to say the past 2 years though, we have had, or 3 years really, through the pandemic, we have had some incredible Critical Point staff members who've been very dedicated. I'm so glad that some of them are here. So before we get going today, I just want anybody who has worked on the Critical Point to stand. And if you're standing already, stand, and we're all gonna clap for you. Okay. Yeah, this has been a challenge, especially while we were virtual. So today and I feel very sad that our amazing layout person, Grace Rhodes, is not able to be with us today because she's sick. So she actually, and Megan, her amazing editorial sidekick, have really been behind making sure that the 2021 edition was finished this semester and that we got another edition out. So we not only finished last year's edition, we also produced another journal, which will be out in paper form soon. So this is hot off the press. Finally, we have last year's hot off the press that will be available for sale afterwards. We do need to make sure all the contributors get their contributor copies too before we sell way too many. So, so those will be available afterwards. And hopefully in the next week or two, we'll have the 2022 edition available for all the contributors and for you to buy extra copies. Extra copies are $5. So cool. Okay, so we are going to start out with to give you a preview of the 2022 edition. And Leeann, our dear Leeann, put together an amazing PowerPoint. So that's going to be going. So you'll see a quote, great quote, or something that is really, I think, central to the piece in each slide. Hopefully you're able to read it. And we're going to actually start out with Leeann herself, because Leeann, so one other thing I will explain. Each year we give out awards, Critical Point awards, for critical writing, art, and creative writing. And so we unfortunately can't have everybody who's in the Critical Point read and present their work. So we're just focusing on the awardees and honorable mentions today. And we also have a separate award that is sponsored by our Mad Women in the Attic called the Creative Writing Awards. And we will be celebrating those after we get through the Critical Point Awards, just to give you a heads up. So our first reader, or our first presenter today, is actually Leeann herself. You okay, Leeann? Okay.
Yeah. The timer will come off to switch slides, but
okay.
We think we got it.
Okay. Okay.
I tried to be fancy.
It's very fancy. Okay. And Caitlin will be coming up to talk about the cover in a bit. We're going to start with Leeann, and Leeann's received the Critical Point Critical Writing Award for her piece called Fact Checking the Media. And she's going to share some of that with you today. So come on up, Leeann.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for all coming out tonight. Hope you're all doing well. My piece called Fact Checking the Media I wrote because I'm a pharmacy technician, so I administer the COVID-19 vaccines daily, and I wanted to research it I saw a lot of misinformation on TikTok, especially whenever the COVID-19 vaccines first came out, and that's what kind of spiked this. Fact-checking the media. Several claims have been made by TikTok users stating misleading information about Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine that was approved by the Food and Drug Administration for individuals 16 and older. One individual stated that the website where someone would book an appointment to receive the vaccine stated that it was only approved for emergency use and nothing else. This was once the case for Pfizer's vaccine. However, that fact has changed. PolitiFact discusses how the FDA has the ability to authorize emergency use of a vaccine according to certain requirements. As COVID-19 was officially named a pandemic last year, 2020, and no vaccine existed yet, a demand was created for it. Thus, emergency use was authorized in December 2020 for Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. This source then dives into a news article from August 23rd, 2021, stating the FDA approved the first COVID-19 vaccine and how the FDA may have added to the confusion. When the FDA approved the vaccine, they stated that Pfizer's vaccine would continue to only be administered to people ages 12 to 15 under the emergency use authorization, as well as an additional dose for immunocompromised people. PolitiFact continues to dispute the TikTok user's argument by stating what the FDA has, that they require certain standards to be met to authorize emergency use, and even more substantial evidence that the vaccine is effective for approval. An approval from the FDA should allow individuals to have more peace of mind when contemplating receiving the COVID-19 vaccine. However, could an argument made on TikTok sway individuals away from getting the vaccine? The argument being made by these TikTok users is that the Pfizer vaccine has not been approved by the FDA. This negatively impacts all TikTok users as well as the public, as this misleading information may persuade them to not receive an efficient vaccine. The argument is being directed at the very people who may be afraid of receiving the vaccine because it is new. The value of an FDA stamp of approval is being diminished by users on this app to further instill fear and wariness of an already highly controversial topic. Even though there is evidence to support the success of the Pfizer vaccine, could evidence brought to TikTok users make them question the effectiveness of the FDA? The evidence used to support the argument of these TikTok users is not substantive or representative of factual evidence. One user backed up the argument with a website where someone would sign up for an appointment for a vaccine, and another the FDA. Even though a website where someone would book an appointment is not very quantitative or qualitative, a statement from the FDA would be. However, the FDA has approved the Pfizer vaccine, so simply stating that they have not is entirely untruthful and misleading. This could allow the public to retract the trust that it should have in the FDA to make decisions regarding the livelihoods of American citizens. Thus, fact-checking sources becomes even more important to do. PolitiFact has convinced me that Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine has been approved by the FDA. This source states information directly from the FDA and not hearsay from social media. They also provide links to credible sources to further back up their claims. These sources include the TikTok posts made by users critiquing the FDA approval, news articles, and the FDA news release when they approved the vaccine back in August. Having a way to validate statements made on social media allows more people to have access to facts instead of misleading and not supported statements. The significance of fact-checking the statements made by TikTok users is important so that very few people believe unfactual claims made on social media. One can only imagine what kind of chaos would ensue if these claims with little evidence to support them were believed by every TikTok user. This makes all the difference because if these claims of the FDA not approving the vaccine, even after it was approved, can be brought, imagine how many more claims can be made with little evidence to support them as well. Politics work the same way. Statements made by candidates should be fact-checked before they are to be believed. This would allow citizens to be better informed on what is happening in their government and their lives too. Thank you all.
Next, we have Ashley Anderson coming up to read Ars Poetica at 22, which was the winner of the Critical Point Creative Writing Award. Come on up, Ashley.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ashley Anderson, and can you hear me? Is it good? Great. Okay. So this poem was an exercise that one of my professors gave to me. She wanted me to write something. It's an Ars Poetica. Basically, it's just like breaking the fourth wall of poetry, putting yourself in the poem. And this is like my play on it. So, Ars Poetica at 22. A poem is voice and volume, echoes of an elementary school hallway that bounce and bounce until they fade into an adolescence that spreads thin, thinner than other forms of writing, like just the smell of lemon, a dash of salt. A poem is standing in front of strangers in a warmly lit room in the middle of Pittsburgh with piles of homework to do when you get home. A poem is saying the wrong word at the wrong time and regretting it until one day you forgive and let go. A poem is that sunlight that filters through your aunt's living room, that light that you see right before you open your eyes in the morning. A poem is dark brown soil underneath slimy weeds and rooted grass. It is Ohio hills and busy maple trees. A poem is the last time you smoked a cigarette, the long drag in, watching the white paper dissolve into ash, the slow puff out, trying to stop the wheels from turning, stop the leaves from browning, stop the sun from setting, anything to keep the moment present. A poem is her fur and the sweet smell of her pink belly as she rolls over towards you when your alarm goes off. She is a poem, her dark splotches of fur against the white and brown clumps near her eyes, and her bright white paws that step on my back when I'm laying in bed. Thank you.
And next we have Jalon Jones coming up to read Looks, a 4-part series, which received an honorable mention. Come on up. Please.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so this poem I wrote for an American literature class in the fall semester is particularly focused on Black literature. So it's inspired by the concept of microaggressions and everyday biases, though they're so common, they kind of become a part of the fabric of life. So this is my attempt to address that within others as well as myself. So here's part 1. Our eyes meet and you look away. I wasn't too keen on looking at you either, so that suits me just fine. I thought there was a strange sort of connection there, but I guess we'll never know. Part 2. The older I get, the more that look turns to a side eye you think I don't see. I valiantly pretend to be ignorant as I continue to listen to my music. After all, if you can valiantly pretend I don't exist, it's only fair I give you the same courtesy. Part 3. Wary of the consequences of my own existence, I learn to look at you now. Your body language, what you're saying without saying, the inherent bias within. The worst part is it all looks so well-meaning from your perspective. How can you love someone so much you don't really know at all? It's going to take a much longer trip than a mile in my shoes for you to have even a hint of what I go through. Part 4. Now I've learned to look at myself, to ponder the boogeyman image that's been sold to the world around me, to try and make those strange sorts of connections, to acknowledge everyone's existence, regardless of how uncomfortable my own makes them. I look at my own body language, what I'm saying without saying, the inherent bias within. The worst part is it all looks so well-meaning from my perspective. How can I hate someone I don't really know at all? Whether it be the generalized image of the white man or the criminalized image of the Black man, or whether it be the bitter, defeated face that looks back at me in the mirror. Thank you.
And next we have, this is a very long title, so I'm just making sure I get the whole thing. Sarah Smilowitz received an honorable mention for Instruction Manual on Becoming the Next Superman. Come on up, Sarah.
Hi, everyone. I had the incredible privilege of being able to take a Mad Women in the Attic poetry class this semester. And a lot of the prompts were focused on me learning to write about my own life without being so ashamed of it. So this is Instruction Manual on Becoming the Next Superman. For as long as I can remember, I have always been moving. If there is time for idle thought, there is time to be doing something useful with it. If you need to ask for help, you're doing it wrong. You're failing. There is no time to do anything except to do everything all at once and do it perfectly. You should feel as though you have neither the time nor space to breathe, as though your lung capacity has diminished with the weight of everything you carry. You must also hide it. On the outside, it should seem as though you have not a care in the world. Then take pride in the shock and awe of others when they discover all that you have done, all on your own, all at once. An impossible task. It is this praise that will keep you coming back, a sort of high you can't find anywhere else, the one that comes from fooling people into thinking you are a superhuman, that you are the goal. They do not know about the ways in which you hurt yourself to keep your mind clear. They do not know you haven't made a new genuine friend since you were 14. You have only had time to collect an impossible number of acquaintances to impress. They do not know people leave when the superhero act is dropped, and so you continue on alone with your impossible number of tasks, your impossible number of people to impress, your impossible number of crushing expectations, all of which you assign to yourself. And finally, you will realize you have been killing yourself in a roundabout way, but you will not stop because now you can't, or everything will break, including you. Thank you.
And now we have Sydney Edwards coming up to read Rose-Colored Tank Top, which also received an honorable mention. Come on up, Sydney.
Hi, everyone. You can hear me, right? Okay. This one is inspired off of walking down the street and the horror that it is. I walked down Forbes Avenue to meet a friend. I'm wearing a rose-colored tank top. I think rose is my color. The softness of it is comforting. I'm charmed by its cheerfulness. I'm waiting at an intersection, pressing skip after skip as I try to find that one song when I hear a hey. I look up, first expecting to see a friend waving at me, when I see a group of men in a car basking in the glory of a college student in a tank top and Nike shorts. I then expect him to ask for directions, when the driver looks me up and down and sucks his teeth as if I'm a meal he wants to consume. I'm young enough to be his granddaughter, I realize. I snap out of being nice. I hit pause on my playlist. I sneer over my right shoulder and I flip them off. I start moving again, breaking into that weird little run that I hope doesn't look like a walk sign on across Atwood be damned. I keep going, walking faster and faster as if distance can get rid of feeling like I'm a butterfly pinned to a wall, rose-colored wings and all. I look down on my outfit again. Suddenly, rose is no longer my color.
Next, we have Keegan Flanagan reading Power Chords, which also received an honorable mention. Come on down, Keegan.
Hello, this is a more lyrical poem, something much shorter that I just wrote because I like the sound of it mainly. Turn your slayer to the max and peer into the mirror. See the person standing there, but see it isn't clear. Cigarette smokes in your lungs and ashes on the floorboards. Pluck the strings on your guitar and pray to play the right chords. Turn your amp up and shred. You still feel sick to your core. Fingers bleeding on the strings. Your voice is hoarse and throat sore. You go to school, you go to work, or you go home, but still you feel so hollow. Leave your feelings at the door and hope that they don't follow. Thank you.
Next, we have Gabby Adams reading The Tide, which also received an honorable mention.
Hi, I'm Gabby. Thanks, Dr. B, for the support. Yeah, so I wrote this poem, The Tide, based on a paper I wrote freshman year about the 13th Amendment and convict leasing, the impact of religion. And from that came this, The Tide. The tide came and went like crashing cries that washed the mangled bodies of Black anguish onto the land, dominated by the misrepresentation of purity. Other whole pieces of shark-bitten bodies sank deeper into the abyss as captive souls released and risen to the beaming skies. They were greeted by brothers and sisters. They recognized each other by their pain, reunion of the lost. These spared bodies rejoiced in a humble end, and while the others, still on the ships, crashed into the stolen land, awaiting their oppressive fate never ending. Lines of coffee-coated bodies entered this foreign entity as someone's property. Whole identities were left with the mother, holy Mecca of love, rich with nutrients, consuming now the trinities, the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost of the owner's insincerities. Thank you.
Next, we have Sierra Ladon reading Ukraine. Come on down, Sierra.
Okay, so I got the inspiration for this poem because I actually attended a peaceful protest to show support to Ukraine a month or two ago. So this is titled Ukraine. The devastation can be seen in the photos of the destroyed apartment complex. The woman with blood smeared over her face can be seen pleading for mercy by the look in her eyes. The multitude of attacks within hours proves that humanity cannot be located in those who have an insatiable hunger for power. And the least humanity is seen in a country with people who are supposed allies, who praise Putin on the radio and speak of bombing as a form of peacekeeping. And the ultimate tragedy is that he was the former president. If not for our country's decision this past election, we would publicly be encouraging the bullies. The bullies are the ones who start wars, yet they have never experienced it for themselves and suffered no repercussion from their actions, because bombs never find their way to those who start the war. This is the divide. It is not a matter of donkeys and elephants. It is a matter of humanity or utter chaos. Thank you.
And next, we have, unfortunately, Taylor wasn't able to be here with us today, but Taylor Cosalter won the Critical Point Art Award for Alone with My Colors, which you can see up here and over here. It's a really beautiful piece. And I'm sorry she couldn't be here today to talk about it with you. And I'm trying to remember what medium she used. Do you remember? I should know this. I think it's actually marker, which is wild. I think it's marker. That's what my memory is that she said. So that's pretty, it's very dabbled. It's all, what do you call that? The dots. Pointillism. Thank you, Sarah. Pointillism, the style of pointillism. I did study that way back when. So we'll clap for Taylor. Now, I'd like to ask Sarah Mass to come on down and talk about her piece, Feel the Feelings, which received an honorable mention in the Critical Point Art Awards. Come on down, Sarah.
Okay, hello everyone. So this piece is called Feel Your Feelings, and I used a camera to set it up with a long exposure to capture like my friends' faces. So at a young age, I battled a lot through my life, and I've dealt with loss and a lot of important people in my life. I've also dealt with a lot of mental health issues and stuff like that. So I feel like this piece really captures all of that. As students, I feel like a lot of us hide those negative feelings in life, and whether it's about a test grade, family issues, sports, or just mental health issues alone. I know for myself, I'm someone who hides almost everything, but it wasn't until I picked up that camera and found my happiness. I feel like everyone also has a front and chooses to hide it because of fear, judgment, sorry, or someone that can just say like, it can always be worse. During that time of this image, I chose to concentrate of the components of loneliness because at the time that's what I was going through, and through art, that's how it helped me. As you can see in this piece, you can see that the feelings are almost attacking her mind and shows them almost leaving her mind as well. And in my field, I'm a psychology major. I want people to understand that it's okay to be sad, angry, disappointed, and anxious, and no one should feel like they have to hide it in any way, shape, or form. In my own world, I feel like hiding it makes it a lot worse, and that's why I decided to capture it in my moments and learn from it. And I want everyone to understand that your feelings are valid no matter what. Thank you.
Now, I'd like to ask Keegan Flanagan to come back down to talk about the piece, the artwork that he received an honorable mention for called Antlers. Come on down, Keegan.
Hello again. This is a part of a series I did that combined parts of nature photography and something called mosh editing, which is just sort of combination of different filter elements and editing. It was mainly done, of course, the pictures I took and then Photoshop. You can see in the background, there's the skeleton of the deer actually behind its own head. And then the center, it all sort of contorts into just a mess. So I don't know, it's just an interesting observation I had on my walks through the woods. Earlier in the year, I'd see all these deer and foxes and, it was so full of life. And then the more I'd go each day I'd walk, I'd see less and less. And then I'd start seeing the skeletons and bullet shells from the hunters. And so I decided I would make these pieces. This is the second one. The first was called Fox Hunt, and I'm currently working on a third. Thank you.
So our wonderful Grace Rhodes, who did the layout of our whole journal, received an honorable mention for her piece Arbor Vitae. Whoops, we lost it. I hope I can explain this the way I'm not going to do justice to it. Maybe Cam can help me. We'll see. Grace has a biology minor, I believe. She's a graphic design major, and she is very interested in nature. And so these are actual branches of coniferous trees. I forget the actual what each one is. I wish I remembered. And on the other side, you'll notice a similar pattern looking at white matter in the brain. Did I do that okay, Cam? Does that make sense? So she's looking at the kind of patterns, both that are happening in nature and in biology, which is really and the similarities. Help me out, Cam. Go ahead. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I knew these two could help me too. I just realized, yeah. So that's such a neat idea. So let's give Grace a round of applause. Yeah, there's a lot of symbolism happening in that piece for sure. So next we have our wonderful cover art. Caitlin McDonough won for her photograph, Breakable. Come on up, Caitlin.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. Yeah, I normally submit writing, but I didn't submit any this year. I submitted some photos instead. This was a photo I took in Ohio. It was at a place called Hocking Hills State Park. It's also called Old Man's Cave. There's a lot of like crazy rock formations, huge walls. Like I don't even know how tall they were, but years of like erosion and science stuff that I don't know the words for. But I saw these like broken rocks alongside a trail, and I thought it made a cool shot. And then I chose the title Breakable. You kind of interpret it two different ways. In a pessimistic way, even the largest, strongest rocks are still breakable, I guess. Or in an optimistic way, your largest obstacles are still able to be overcome, I guess. I don't know. That's what I came up with. So that's it.
Unfortunately, I don't think Brooke is here either, but Brooke Pistella won an honorable mention for her piece Reflection, which I believe she did in oil paints or acrylics. What do you think? Yeah. It is oil paints, Mandy. Thank you. Oil, yes. So Brooke received an honorable mention for this piece. It's really beautiful. Let's give her a hand. And next we have Mandy's piece. Mandy Ruffing received an honorable mention for her piece called My Little Sister. Come on up, Mandy.
Hello, everyone. So yeah, this is My Little Sister. I created this during quarantine. It's all done with acrylics, and it was mostly just for fun. I was just messing with color and experimenting a little bit. And then I started to notice that it looked a lot like my sister, just with the skin color and how pretty it is. And then the colorful, like, what's it called? Curly hair and everything. My sister and my siblings all mean a lot to me. When we were younger, we had to deal with my mother, who was an addict. And at one point, it seemed like I became like almost a mother to all of them. And she really has helped me grow with my art. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're shifting into the Creative Writing Awards. And this year, all poets submitted. Often we give awards for not only poetry, but fiction and nonfiction, but this was just the year of poetry. I think the pandemic is producing a lot of poets. So, so the winner of the Marilyn P. Donnelly Award in Poetry goes to what is Sydney Edwards, who we've seen before. Come on up, Sydney, for We Are Not Responsible.
Hi. Firstly, I do want to say thank you for honoring me with this award. If you asked me senior year of high school, I would not have expected me to win anything for poetry, let alone write poetry. So this was really inspired by my first American literature class that I actually liked. We read a poem called We Are Not Responsible. And a prompt that was given to us based off of that poem was write a poem based off of your personal experience, but turn it so that way it's more someone is talking to you about your experience. So this is We Are Not Responsible. We are not responsible for any sustained damage. We cannot guarantee your safety if you do not say yes. We do not endorse these insidious claims of sexual assault. We reserve the right to interrogate and investigate you if we have a reasonable suspicion of a false claim. We are not held responsible for how grown men act. You are held responsible for their leering, for their thoughts that become actions. Before going outside, make sure you leave something to the imagination. You're not held responsible for the comments from men on the street. If you cannot understand the source of these actions, you will receive a lecture on how your barely developed body is simply an object. You are not allowed to exist. You are only allowed to be a fantasy. It's not our fault. Look at what you were wearing. You asked for it. It's not our fault. How much alcohol have you consumed? Are you sure? We aren't held responsible for someone who put themselves in that position. There's not much more we can do. After all, you have a signed waiver on file. You did not read the fine print. It states, on Sunday, April 1st, 2001, at 12:35 a.m., the newborn consents to being born a woman and is held responsible for any bodily and/or mental harm sustained throughout her stay. Officially, we cannot be held responsible for what happens to you. We are sorry for any inconvenience.
You notice Sydney is lingering up here because Sydney also received an honorable mention for the first quatrain of Ukrainian Sunflower.
All right, so this one is based off of a Gwendolyn Brooks poem, which if you are staying for the IPF archive panel, I'll talk more about her. So anyway, this was based off of my initial reaction and response to the unfortunate war that is happening in Ukraine and still is happening. There was a whole bunch of media about a lady who was walking around handing sunflower seeds to Russian soldiers. This is a homage to her. Her country was a pretty one. It isn't so pretty now. It's tarnished with debris. She walks up to a soldier seeds in her hands, cold metal in his. She holds out her hands, the soft demeanor of an older woman. Chaos reigns, but the soldier accepts the offer of peace. He thinks. She speaks, put these in your pocket so that when you die, they will grow on Ukrainian soil.
Next we have Gabby Adams again, coming on down. Gabby received an honorable mention for her poem Body. Come on down, Gabby.
Thank you. Hi again. Yeah, so I guess I wrote this poem and I was trying to think about like why I wrote it. But I wrote it around freshman year and I just gone back to therapy and, unleashing all that is childhood trauma. And from that came this body. I am this body, an accumulation of ligaments and pain. I've seen the vast sky dismantled. This intrinsic beauty will vanish. My eyes will go too. The flame of life will erupt. The world will concave. Water will flow out of this atmosphere into the abyss. The broken sea glass has pierced the spine. Land was indeed stolen. Moments become the beating heart of birds who have dispersed since the fall. I am this body, an accumulation of growth, withering fear. Seeing the shape shifting of color, the torn muscle cannot last the night. Flickering names, waved to the abandoned eyes, sockets infatuated by the clouds covering all that there was, all that this body once held. Staggering and fatigued, foggy trees overhang the smell of nothing, eerie numbness of touch paralyzed. I'm still this body. Thank you.
And last but not least, we have one more. Clara Wilson received an honorable mention for her piece, Scary, Isn't It? Come on down, Clara.
This is like super petrifying to me, I'm not gonna lie. So I wrote this actually my freshman year of college for Dr. Rashid's class, and this was around the time when a gay nightclub in Florida had been a mass shooting, and the synagogue up here shortly after had also had a shooting. And I, being neither gay or Jewish or really directly affected, felt directly affected by it. And for one of her assignments, I decided to write this poem. So this is Scary, Isn't It? The world is a scary place. To die is scary. To live is scary. The uncertainty of which path you will take tomorrow is scary. It's all about wrong place, wrong time, right? Is it? Because it seems like it has more to do with you. Are you religious? Dead. Are you gay? Dead. Are you colored? Dead. Or at least you can believe there will be an attempt to make this happen, right? Because that is the type of world we live in. To assume diversity causes tragedy by those who struggle to grasp the idea that the world is one big melting pot. Who do you want to be? Wait, don't answer that. Can we even say we have a tomorrow? The decisions we make today could be the reason we die tomorrow. So don't plan. Be thankful a bomb didn't go off, a plane wasn't hijacked, a gun wasn't pulled. So we're safe right now. But what about tomorrow, or in an hour, or next month? This melting pot used to be a more welcoming place, or at least that's what I was told it was. Scary, isn't it? What is scarier to you though? Dying for being you, or living and not being true to who you are? It's all scary, isn't it? It's a trick question, I assume. There is no right answer. Pick anyways. Boom, dead. Thank you.
So I just want to, again, I know we've been clapping a lot, but you can tell we have so many amazing writers and artists among us here at Carlow. And I was so impressed by, and this is just a fraction of the work that's going to be in this issue. So little preview, and I hope that you'll all be able to get a copy once it's out in a couple of weeks. So we'll keep you posted about that. So Thank you all for being here. All of the winners and honorable mentions, I have a little something for you in this bag. So you have to come down and pick something out of this bag at the end. But let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you so much for coming. And we do have the 2020 version, if anybody's interested in buying a copy for $5. We also have the 2021 version. So come on down. Thank you. Urbana White's.
How do we stop screen? Maybe go to.